Welcome to the Fascia-Informed Therapist, the essential podcast for occupational therapy professionals looking to deepen their understanding of fascia's pivotal role in therapy and health. I'm your host, Amy Mayer, an experienced occupational therapist, practice owner, and dedicated educator. Here we'll dive into the fascinating world of fascia, exploring its significance in the human body and its critical influence on occupational therapy practice. Each episode will bring you cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and practical strategies to help you confidently integrate the science of fascia into your therapeutic approach. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting out, our goal is to equip you with high-quality, evidence-based, and fascia-informed continuing education opportunities that will enhance your skills and benefit your clients. So join us as we unravel the complexities of fascia and transform the way you practice occupational therapy. All health and wellness practitioners are welcome. Let's learn, grow, and evolve together. Good morning. This is Amy, and this is another edition of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. This morning, I've decided to record at my desk rather than in my soundproof studio / walk-in closet because I wanted to be next to the window because the sun is shining and the birds are singing, and I don't know if you guys can hear the birds, but I like to hear the birds singing, and this is my last day before I head out for a week's vacation to stay with a dear friend down south. And after this week, man, I really need it. It's been a week. And I'll share a little bit about that with you. But before I do, I want to say thank you to everybody because we are just shy of 100 downloads for our podcast, and we just started this a couple months ago. And I been thinking about doing this podcast for a very long time, and I've had different people nudging and pushing me in that direction. But I don't know. It's putting a podcast together can be time consuming, and putting yourself out there in that way can be really, really difficult. But I do love talking to audiences, talk at a lot of occupational therapy state conferences. I've talked at the National OT conference many, many times. And it's not a problem for me. I'm getting nervous for sure, but then I love sharing information with my fellow practitioners. I love doing that. And I think when you're a practitioner who's been around for 30 years, you've got a lot to say and a lot of experiences to share. And I would love to see more practitioners doing the same. So thank you for everyone who's listen to a podcast. We don't have any comments yet. I'm definitely open to comments. Please make a comment. And if you're someone who is a practitioner who uses fascia techniques or has read some science about fascia and you want to ask a question, if you go to fascia-informed.com, there's a place, if you go to the podcast page, there's a place where you can put questions or contact information. If you'd like to be interviewed, that would be freaking awesome. That would be super fun. I would love to. Sharing information is great and important. If you do want to be interviewed, we do have surveys for, I'm got a couple clients who are open to being interviewed. So, and just to make people feel more comfortable, we have a survey that we'll send you where you can fill in the responses to questions that we'll likely talk about, or I'll ask you, or topics that might come up, and that'll sort of prime your thinking before you come on the podcast. So a lot of people have said, "Oh, no, I would be too nervous to do that." So this can definitely make you feel more comfortable. Then you can also tell me if there's any topics that are off limits and you don't want to talk about. So we have one for practitioners, and then we have another one for potential clients who would want to potentially come on the podcast. So if you're interested, I would love to speak to you, or if you're not even sure, just email me or use the contact form to contact me. Another platform that we have, and many of you maybe have seen already, is we do have a Facebook page and an Instagram page of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. And one of the things we're trying to develop, particularly with the Facebook page, is more of a conversation. So it doesn't matter if you just have an interest in fascia and have a question, or if you are a user of some kind of myofascial technique or a technique that targets the fascia in any way, or you're seeing research on fascia in your practice area coming up, and one of the next couple of podcasts is going to be on that, and that's going to be super fun. If you're seeing that, post your question, post the article. Let's have a conversation about it. Anybody from any genre, fascia-related genre, is welcome to go there and ask questions of each other, and it will build slowly. I acknowledge that. It will build slowly, but that is fine. So what do I want to talk about today? One of the other reasons it's been a little bit of a tough week. When you feel like you're trying to put yourself out there and do good things, sometimes people don't respond the way that you thought they would, and that can make it really hard because you feel like you're doing your best work. You feel like you're trying to be helpful, and that people just sort of want to punch you in the face for one reason or the other. But I understand that not everybody feels the same way about everything. So that is absolutely fine. Being differences and is what makes the world go round. So one of the things that popped up this week was I got a message from Caitlin and said, hey, we got our first troll on the Fascia-Informed Instagram page. And there was a comment on a post that Caitlin had made about posture. And by the time she had sent it to me, the person had already taken it down, which was fine. I did go ahead and write up a little response and sent it to them privately, which is how, social media can be really super awful in terms of how people treat each other publicly, rather than trying to solve problems privately. But that's just part of the game, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, the person had posted a comment, and Caitlin screenshotted it about that we were part of the postural industrial complex, and that posture really isn't that important, and people shouldn't be shamed or something for their posture, and I can't remember exactly what it was right now, but it was definitely the words postural industrial complex is what we're being accused of being part of. And so I definitely Googled that because I'd heard that word before, not in the context of posture. But basically it's about capitalizing and making money on posture. And I would say there's definitely something around that. There's lots of things being sold online that are supposed to help you with better posture. There's lots of foot insert or shoe inserts, those postural things that you put around your rib cage and then you strap them around your shoulders. Those are, hopefully people see those as very temporary fixes. They're not, I think if you become reliant on those things, you're going to be in more trouble. And so I'm definitely not pushing people in the direction of those things unless it's very temporary. There's also those little things that you stick on your back and connect to your phone, and then they buzz you if you start to slump or come out of the amount of degrees of upright that you set it for. I actually think those are really pretty cool, and I've had multiple clients that have used them, and it's been very helpful in creating more awareness in terms of their posture. And I've actually thought about getting one to have in my business that I can loan out to my clients, because once you you reset your brain as to what good posture is, and then you rebuild your body, then you don't really need it anymore. And then you've spent, I don't know what they are, around $100. And anyway, I don't think those are a bad thing. But what we often tell our clients is, hey, working on your posture is free. Once you meet with us and you've gone through your evaluation, then we'll do all the techniques and things that we do for you, but you can go home and it is 100% free. Some people have to look in the mirror. Some people just have to feel their body. Some people just have to remember their habits, but it is free. And we all have the ability to, most of us have the ability to have the awareness to put some simple things into practice that can make a significant difference in our bodies. Next, thinking about posture in terms of habits. And I heard a phrase recently on a different podcast about posture bias, movement bias. And that's something that I've peripherally talked about on another podcast because I talk about posture a lot. And I'll be talking about posture. If you're in the Kansas area, I'll be in Kansas. Caitlin can't come this time, but I'll be in Kansas in September for the OT conference there, and then in Denver the following weekend in September, talking about posture there. Caitlin will be out there as well. So we talk about posture a lot, and I absolutely 100% think it's extremely important. And part of the awareness that we try to create in our clients is that movement or posture bias. Something that's really simple that you can try with me right now. I'm actually standing at my desk that will go up and down. It's actually not a desk. It's actually a workbench that I adapted into a really kind of cool little workstation. So if you want to stand up for a second, if you're listening to this, you can't, of course, if you're driving, but you could try some other things when you're driving. I'll give you an option here in a second. But if you're standing with me, think about if you're standing with equal weight in both of your feet, does that feel comfortable, first of all? And I would challenge you to do that until it feels as comfortable as anything else. And then if you were going to shift your weight, which way would you shift your weight? And most of us have one side that we tend to go to. And for me, it's my right side. And to shift into my right side, I feel like I could stay here for quite some time. It feels pretty comfortable. But if I do the opposite, shift into the left side, I can feel pulling in my lower spine. I can feel pulling in my left hip. It feels not painful, but just not comfortable. And that tells me that I've been shifting right way too much, and I need to work on that habit. And I have been. These habits have become more aware. I know these things after doing ergonomics for 30 some years, but always trying to create more awareness in my own life so that I can better help my clients. But we had a client who had unexplained hip pain, and I think I've talked about this before, and he was always crossing right over left. And so after crossing left over right, he is doing much better. He does other stretching and exercises as well, and he's come for a few different appointments, but most of it he's done on his own through his own efforts of changing his movement biases, which is pretty awesome. And you know what? It was 100% free. Other things are crossing your legs, shifting your weight. If you're driving, think about, do you have your right elbow leaning on the console if you're driving, or what hand's hanging onto the steering wheel? Do you notice that one hip might be higher because you're leaning into that hip? And then shift it around. I definitely have the left hand on the steering wheel, the right elbow on the on the center console. So I'm actively working on shifting in the other direction so that I create balance. And I should be super clear about this. I don't tell clients to always shift to the opposite and never shift let's take standing. I don't tell them to, you are not allowed to shift into your right hip anymore. You are only allowed to shift into your left hip until it feels normal. No, I don't think that's a good idea, because pushing somebody too far in the opposite direction too soon can cause its own set of problems. So getting people to, rather, what I suggest to people is, when you shift into your right hip, notice it, shift into your left hip for a while and see how it feels, and then stand in the center and then just give it kind of equal opportunity until the left starts to feel as comfortable as the right. And then what you're doing is you're starting to create, slowly you're giving your body an opportunity to rebuild itself. Fascia does not change quickly. You can put a lot of effort in and change more quickly than it would otherwise, but it's not going to change super quickly. You have to be patient with it. Same thing with any other thing you're doing in your body. And I've talked about fibroblasts many, many times, but your body is constantly shaping itself based on your choices, and the cells called fibroblasts are constantly responding to the mechanical input that we give to our body based on our choices. And sometimes the choices are completely unconscious. We started to develop our posture and our movement habits based on what we observed from others as we were growing up, just like we take on many other attributes of our family or whoever we grew up around. We also are very shaped by our environment, the type of furniture that we choose. I have a client right now who is 100% choosing her next car based on the comfort of the driver's seat. She spends a lot of time in her car, and that's what's most important. She doesn't care about the color, the make, the model, as long as the driver's seat is extremely comfortable and she has to do very little adaptation. So our environment shapes us. Doing ergonomics for so long, the environment, it definitely shapes us. I remember going into somebody's office and the way that they had their desk set up, everything required them to turn to the left. So the left, there was a window, there was a door. They were kind of pushed up against the wall on the right. So when they always had to turn to the left to get up and move out. They had their water bottle, a picture, everything was to the left. The phone was to the left. The only thing to the right was the mouse. And so they were constantly turning in that direction. And imagine if you're sitting at that workstation for anywhere from 5 to 8 hours a day, how much that's going to shape you. We think about shaping our bodies when we go to the gym or we go to an exercise class and we build our muscles, and that's what's shaping our body. And we look, and I'm looking at my massive biceps right now. They're not too bad for a, mid-50s woman. You got to keep those muscles strong so that we can invest in our bodies for a safe and functional future. But that's how we think about building our body. And I'm shifted into my right hip right now. But we have to think about it much more internally in terms of the fascial system. And we need to think about the muscular system. It's not making any other system unimportant, but we have to think about it from the fascial system. The last thing I wanted to talk about was a story that I heard when I know I talk about going to Montreal and the Fascia Research Congress a lot, but that was really a pretty profound experience for me. One of the stories that John Sharkey, the anatomist from Ireland, told in the pre-conference session to I think it was about 12 of us in the room, and we were all some sort of clinician. The story was of him being at a surgical conference and a surgeon saying, okay, we are really being overrun here with people with all kinds of different pain. And he told the story of, I'm going to butcher it, I apologize, but the story of people, pulling people out of a river. And finally somebody thinks to go upriver and see, well, why are people falling in? And he was telling that story and saying, we need more people up the river that are helping to prevent people from getting to a point where they need us. And to me, that is just so, it's obvious. And we're the people to do that. We're the people who are seeing habits of movement biases, postural biases. We're seeing that, and we can bring it to their attention. And we know, even for ourselves, the first time we hear something about nutrition or hydration or posture or movement or some other health or wellness thing, we don't always pay attention to it right away. But sometimes when we hear the right podcaster say it, or the right clinician, or our best friend, or wherever we hear it, sometimes it's the 5th time, sometimes it's the 1st time, sometimes it's the 17th time that we might go, okay, that makes sense, and I need to try this. I need to pay attention, and I need to try this. As occupational therapy practitioners, we have a way of connecting with our clients that is unique. And again, we see what's going on in the context of their occupations, and we can make those suggestions or draw awareness to what we're seeing and how it can influence the comfort level in their body, the function in their body, and their comfort and function into the future. And the fascia science really gives us that information. So let's be part of the fixing the problem, so the surgeons don't have to be pulling people out of the river down the line. Because I would say, we need that. We need them, right? But so many of the people that I work with on a regular basis that come into our practice, they don't have an incident. They didn't do something like a fall or a motor vehicle accident that got them in the pain situation that they're in now. It just sort of snuck up on them. And that definitely tells me I'm looking for what are the habits. What are the habits that got them there, and then what are the wellness practices that they currently have in place that are they feeding into that, or are they taking tension out and helping to counterbalance that? Are they just not working? The movement habits, the posture that's been created, just not working well with the type of exercise that they're doing now, or the stretches that they're doing. Okay, so that felt very roundabout. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Maybe I sound like I need a vacation. If I do, I apologize. But anyway, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to loop back. I really should provide myself a checklist on days like today, but I wanted to loop back and just remind people that we do have the Fascia-Informed therapist. It's called Fascia-Informed.com. That's where you can go to find resources on the courses that we have, but also this podcast where you can submit questions, or you can let me know that you're interested in potentially being interviewed. That'd be super awesome. But also we have our the Fascia-Informed Therapist Facebook page, where we're trying to create that into more of a forum for discussion and sharing of information and resources. And you don't have to be any particular brand of practitioner. You don't have to even know anything about fascia. You just have to be fascia curious. Sharing of articles, whatever we want to make it. It's just a young budding platform that I'm hoping occupational therapists and occupational therapy assistants will show up and be curious and share information. We do have the Fascia-Informed Therapist Instagram page as well. Anybody's welcome to ask questions there. I am not as well versed at Instagram as I am on Facebook, but I'm learning. Or you can always make comments on this podcast as well. So again, thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Fascia-Informed Therapist. It's been a pleasure sharing insights and strategies to help you integrate fascia science into your practice. I'm Amy Mayer, and I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore further and take your therapeutic skills to the next level. Remember, we're committed to creating and providing top-notch, evidence-based, fascia-informed continuing education that empowers you as an occupational therapy practitioner. Stay connected with us for more enriching content, and don't forget to check out our online courses to deepen your expertise. Until next time, keep expanding your knowledge, refining your skills, and confidently applying the science of fascia to your practice. Here's to advancing together in health and wellness.